thank you for taking the time today. We appreciate it a lot. If you can just start by introducing yourself, the institution that you're joining us from today, as well as your role at the university.
Thank you, and you're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Mark Lax. I'm Director of Academic Operations for the Division of Continuing Ed at Harvard University.
And if you can give us also a little bit of your background, how you came to working this role, working in higher education in general.
I was working as a carpenter during the housing crash of 1987, so out of desperation, I got a job through a friend. It wasn't intentional at all, but once I started working at Harvard, I was very comfortable, and it was a place where one could advance. So I've been there forever.
Cool. Can you give us just a bit of a background about Harvard and maybe specifically the continuing education?
So the Division of Continuing Ed is an open enrollment program. We have several divisions, mainly the Harvard Extension School, which is the adult evening, well, it used to be evening program, which runs about 14,000 enrollments a year. Then there's a Harvard Summer School, which is also an open enrollment, but also eligible for certain Harvard College students to get credit. That enrolls around, I believe, 6,000. Then we have a Professional Development and Education division that runs executive ed workshops, running anywhere from a weekend to a week at a time. We have an Institute for Learning in Retirement, and that covers it.
Cool. And can you speak a little bit about how long you've been working with Explorance and the different kind of products that you have at Harvard?
We currently use Blue and Dig as part of Blue.
Yep.
We started our first pilot program was in January of 2019 when Harvard College, with whom we had developed our own online evaluation system, decided to go with Explorance. We went along too. I had actually spoke to Samer about Explorance 2 years earlier, but couldn't quite get people on board, even though I was very impressed with the product. So it was kind of an interesting story. I was very eager to try the product. What we were using that had been built in-house was aging out for a lot of factors I can tell you about later, but we have a January term that is very limited, only 30 courses that run exactly 3 weeks, so I thought it would be the perfect pilot. So I pushed for that very hard, and the day before we were supposed to publish it, I got into a horrible skiing accident and had to rely on Peggy Collins to shepherd me through that. And then we also did a spring pilot. An interesting fact about that, our spring pilot was actually all of our courses, but I had to call it a pilot to justify running it again. I was that impressed with the results.
Wow. So you kind of mentioned that you knew about the tool 2 years before Harvard actually ended up implementing it. Can you speak a little bit about how you came about learning about Explorance and Blue, as well as what about the tool made it stand out to you?
Well, they're tied together. So we were, not to brag, but we were very sort of accelerated in distance education. As far as I know, we were the first program to do live streaming video very early on. We had to make certain adjustments for that. We had to have 3 speeds of streaming for people who had dial-up on military bases across the world. And out of that, we just had sort of different formats. Most of our courses at the time were live, but some of them were becoming recorded and flipped classrooms. And then out of that, we went to different lengths of terms. Okay. We used to traditionally just have semester-long courses. Then we started having half-semester courses, weekend courses, and the old system wasn't flexible enough to do it. And I knew from looking at Blue years ago, these things were on the horizon, and I knew that Blue could handle it. Our old system was for what it was and what it did at the time, it was very good, but it wasn't very flexible. It was kind of binary. It was on or it was off.
Right.
And to communicate with students, we had to download from our main student information systems and do mail merge emails to thousands of students. And it just, it had served its purpose, but was in need of replacing.
I see. And since implementing Blue, can you speak to some kind of success stories, or if you have any metrics that you can share, even if it's just an anecdote, anything like that?
There's so many things. The flexibility in designing the questionnaire, obviously the flexibility of the scheduling, the ease of communication, the ability to do an instant communication or sometimes follow up when a bad communication would go out. Not that I would ever be responsible for something like that, but if somebody else was doing it, they could. I worked with Peggy Collins, who's no longer with the company, who was just really efficient and a great communicator. I was just impressed right away. And then when I got injured and had to have surgery and was laid up for 6 months and, working remotely and by phone and she just swarmed in and helped. And then even though, we had agreed to certain things, some people came in and made some demands on the system that I don't think were part of the original agreement. Explorance was very flexible and very understanding and really cooperative and just was all about getting it done and obviously very proud about the results. I mean, the reports, the differences in the reports that we used to generate and the Blue reports are the differences between, a bird and a rocket ship. It was really, really impressive.
It's great to hear. And then kind of looking into the future, whether it's with Explorance, whether it's with Blue in specific, or just kind of the different feedback processes that you're building at Harvard, what are kind of the next steps that you're looking for in the short and long-term future?
Well, we've just started implementing midterm evaluations. Those have been very helpful because our model has always been we hire people with teaching experience. We have some training, in-house training, and it's very good, but it's mostly sort of format driven, getting people to use the technology that we have, and we have some tremendous technology. We have production studios that are as elaborate as any television studio you see. We have a lot of stuff that's developed in-house, but actual teaching, we have always relied on people with experience, but we're finding that especially for our professional programs, we're bringing in more people from, industry that may not have a lot of teaching programs. So
Right.
doing a midterm is a really good way
Get
of
that formative feedback.
seeing how things are going and then being able to we have a teaching and learning team. Those results go right to the teaching and learning team. They arrange to meet with the new instructors. That's been really, really helpful. And I can only think that we haven't switched to Blue 9 yet, but some of the capabilities I think are there. I'm thinking that we will eventually get to sort of on-demand stuff where we can set up a bunch of sort of optional things that people could schedule themselves if they want to know about a particular lecture or series of lectures or even a guest lecture and get instant feedback. That would be very exciting.
Yeah.
Just to have sort of a continuous feedback loop. Our students are interesting in that they're mostly adult learners. They're mostly paying for it themselves, but they're highly motivated. And we have a lot of full-time Harvard faculty who teach in our program who are very impressed with our students. And these are people who are used to teaching Harvard College students who are, whatever you may think of them, are an exceptional group of students. So that's the sort of thing continuous feedback would be the thing I would like to do, like to be able to make it so that people can set it up themselves, just do all pure custom questions and do short surveys, that sort of thing.
Makes sense. And since we're kind of at the closing of Explorance World this year, I'm curious to know what you've gotten out of this year's conference at Explorance World 2025.
The first session I attended was a quiz show with Dave, the trainer, and I think that should be a regular feature. That should be on your website every week.
Yeah.
It was a great way to review. I got 3 or 4 ideas for some things I wanted to improve that I brought to the tech zone, and not all of them bore fruit, but we eventually got to the answer. And I don't mean to be overly flattering, but I'm very impressed with the company. I just love how the techs are really eager and driven, and if they don't know something in the tech zone, you get to physically see them grab somebody. I mean, I've had great feedback, submitting tickets and all that stuff, and been very helpful. Met a lot of great people, but the culture here, I think, is extraordinary. I really like the company and recommend it without reservation.
Well, I'll definitely tell David that feedback, but thank you so much for taking the time, Mark.
My pleasure. Thank you.